I made an Instagram reel yesterday and somebody asked me for a follow-up question. It's pretty hard to follow up on text on a reel. So I decided I'll make a YouTube video. Isn't that what everybody does? But anyway, it's from my buddy Johnny. So here's the way I understand, and just for everybody else's background, I'm talking about the race for mayor of LA and the Spencer Pratt thing. There was a claim made online that a batch of votes had come in, and there were I don't know the precise numbers, but there were tens of thousands of votes cast, and Pratt got 0. So when I first heard that, automatically I've thought about things similar to this before. Automatically I knew, okay, there's more to this story than what I'm seeing here. And the proof was somebody noticed it at home. Maybe they have a DVR and they backed it up. So they took 2 separate screenshots of the tallies that have been, updated on the screen by whatever network was showing those tallies. Something that I would never watch because I live in Alabama and I don't give a fuck who wins it's going to be between those two anyway. And if Pratt would have made second, it just would have been a bigger blowout for the current mayor. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I think some people get their news in such a bubble that they look at Pratt and they say, oh, he's telling me everything I like to hear. He's going to have to win. All those people have to see all these bad things. That's how simple I think some people look at the news. They don't hear any, alternative theories to things. But getting back to when I first saw this, so I'm like, okay, the obvious implication was that them Democrats is cheating. He didn't get 0. That's math. And then you get these people on the screen that'll come up and tell you why it's mathematically impossible and throw all this stuff around and impress some people. But if I was going to be stealing an election, or if I was going to be stuffing, tens of thousands of ballots into the election somehow, and they would get received and counted, somebody has to be registered under the name. I'm not going to explain how elections work, but the point is all those votes that were shown on the screen between the screenshots that somebody noticed, that wasn't a batch of votes. There's the AP. I could look the story up, but you can do it yourself. I think people, if you want to know this stuff, it's easy to go to some search engine, or now you got AI that will read thousands of articles and give you the information. That's how I got it initially. And then it's all sourced. So, people's first reaction to, I just put it in because the AI says it has to be true. I could just hear people say that. But there's little links there that you can click and open up the newspaper and read the article about it. And so here's my, elementary understanding of how this works. The official government agency puts out these votes periodically of the new updated tallies as people are counting. And I'm not going to defend how slow California is with counting. That just makes, it's kind of poetic justice for the incompetent government of California. And this is not the whole state. This is LA. It's not like the whole state is voting for LA mayor, right? I think people know that. Well, some people know that. But anyway, so these votes get passed on to some, like the AP. And I think I saw an article where it talks about the AP releases information. They get a batch, and maybe the person that was giving them. However, there's a little disruption where it didn't get the entire batch for the new batch. It only displayed for some people, and then Pratt wasn't in there. So he got 0 on that update. But if they would have taken a screenshot 1 minute later, and I suspect the people that might have had this on DVR and they can move forward and backward, they would know and they would see this. And I think there was like a forensic guy that even again, if you want to find this information, I'm sure you can. But if you would have moved that forward like 1 minute later, Pratt's would have gone up like tens of thousands, and then the other ones didn't get any. There were other candidates too that were getting a few or whatever. But Pratt, I think he actually got more than they did on that update because that batch was like Pratt friendly territory or something like that. My analogy that I made with the cards, everybody knows there's 52 cards, 26, right? My analogy was, if I was counting, I already know the results. Like these ballots and this numbers that are being displayed, they've already counted all the votes for Pratt, all the votes for the other two. I don't even know their names. That information is there, but to pass that on to the network, they got to, put those numbers at some point. And so my analogy was, it would be like me putting the numbers for how many cards is in this deck. And I counted all the reds and I put 26 in my spreadsheet and hit enter. Somebody behind me took a screenshot of my thing and they're going to try to claim that I said there's only 26 cards. Oh, there's not even any blacks. Well, I had to count those out and then put that in my spreadsheet next minute. And then somebody takes a screenshot now. Oh, okay, you weren't done updating it yet. That information that's on the screen, the television screen, they're not official numbers. You can't look at those and go, oh, they're mediated through the network could have made an error. That wouldn't be on the government. I mean, more likely if somebody's going to make the error, it's probably at the government level. But you don't know, though. You cannot count on that number being this second. It better be right. You have to wait. Now, all these batches are going to be available for audit if someone had a I haven't followed it. Maybe Pratt is going to, contest it or whatever. The other thing I'll point out when it comes to vote counting, and I don't think this is by design. I don't think this is a conspiracy theory that is true, but I've heard people kind of float this a little bit. It used to be the GOP had a larger base of absentee voting because of military and older people, that tended to vote GOP in the past. And in the Trump era, that's just not the case anymore. He's made that, and I kind of understand why, but and again, this is not my belief. This is what people believe, that they knew that if we had election night and all those in-person votes would be counted first, that Trump would have this lead. But once the absentee or the mail-in vote, which he basically told people not to use it, I don't know very many hardcore MAGA people that mail their votes in. So the implication of the conspiracy theorists is that was by design, but I don't think it was by design. I think that people don't know how voting works. I think some people believe that if you just get your hands on a bunch of ballots, you can fill them all out, send them on in, and they'll all get counted. I've seen friends of mine make the claim that, well, I got 5 ballots sent to my house. I think what they're getting is voter registration. One, they're either lying because they want to just try to pretend like something's happened and it's not, or it's a registration form and you register your name and you register to vote. So the voting is so hard to talk about because people have their misunderstandings about it. I really think people think you could just take 1 million ballots, plug them in. I knew a guy, I think this guy's a pretty smart dude. He was under the false impression that one of the districts in whatever state it was, one of the swing states, Ohio or Michigan or Wisconsin or whatever. It wasn't Wisconsin, I don't remember that, but that there were more votes than people or something like that. And you'll see this stuff all the time on the internet, for sure. You'll see stuff like that. But let's look at the actual information. You can go to 2020 and look at how many registered voters there are in the county versus how many votes there were. And I'll tell you right now, there are none that have more votes than people. It's just not how it works. This is an easy one off the top of my head. One of the things that came out in the 2020 election, the claims is that, that you saw, and there's a picture, this really happened. They're covering up people were trying to take pictures of them counting. And so what somebody did was put this barrier up on the screen. And so someone took a picture of that and say, see, they don't want us to, but now you got to know, the first thing you should ask yourself is, the picture is there. I can see there's something on this plexiglass that is blocking the view of these people. So you have to ask yourself, what's the best case that the government, the people counting those votes, would say? Why did they put that up there? And you can find the story. The reason why is because these are mail-in ballots that they're opening up. Now, the envelope's going to have the person's name on it because they sent it in. When they open it up, somebody could catch them. Would you want your vote to be known? I mean, if you're MAGA, pretty much yes, people know, but not everybody wants their address and name, and then when they open up the ballot, they'd see maybe who it, so they had to block it, and the people said, you can film from over there, but you can't be right here in this spot. So then there was a picture, if you zoomed out further, there was just that plexiglass was blocked in that one spot where they couldn't get close enough for it. But if you only knew that first bit of information, you would think something's fishy. Another one, there's a film of, I think this was on that, however many mules they had. I forget if it was 500 mules or whatever, that they had to pay all that money back or whatever. I'm just going off of memory here. This is just off the top of my head. So the fishiness was somebody would put these votes in and they were counting this big stack, and then you would see her square them up and put them in the machine again, right? And the voiceover on the video, and I never saw it, I just read about this, would claim that this person is just counting these same ballots like several times, And what it was is there's this error catching thing that if it counts and it doesn't have the same count 2 times in a row, or it's something to do with that, where it has to check, and you'll see them squaring it up because something didn't work time. They'll do it again. Okay, they got to count, let's say. They do it again, and it's off by 5. Oh, they can't do it. You got to keep doing it until, I think I'm simplifying it, but I think that's how that works. But if you just listen to the guy talking like this, and you see somebody, a poll worker, putting those ballots in those machines a bunch of times before, that's only counting them. And until you get that number and you push the button and say, okay, that's it. Those are done. Let's do the next batch. You wouldn't know. I always think there's got to be more to this. Another quick one. This is almost 15 minutes now. Another quick one is, they're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs. When I first heard that story, I'm like, there's nobody going to believe this, right? And then it's in a political season. This was, if you remember, there was a little bit of heated discussion amongst the people at this time. And that was about the time that freaking Biden was dropping out because that, when Trump said that at the debate, that was Harris. That wasn't Biden stumbling over his whatever words. But, so here's why I can tell you that that's not true without even like needing to see proof or whatever. Or you can't really prove a negative, but you'll see my point in a second. If somebody had eaten someone's pet dog or cat, do you think the Trump campaign people might have gone and found a couple of those people that were willing to come on camera with you know, little Jimmy with a picture of Fido crying. The Haitians ate my dog. That would have guaranteed to have been on the TV screen. Fluffy, if we could only have him back, they shouldn't have let the foreigners come move into the city. That would have been all over the frickin' TV. And you know it would have been. But so that's why I know that was bullshit. But anything else, happy to explain. Johnny, I know you have to know that I'm telling you the way I think things happen. I'm definitely not fighting for the left guys or whatever. There's no way Pratt was going to win. So I think the whole outrage over, you know, seeing 2 screenshots or whatever, it's a little misguided.